To be honest, I don't really know what that does, but that's okay. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Earlier on in the year I made a video talking about my home audio setup and I showed you, among other things, my cassette deck and obviously like my turntable, my records and all that good stuff. I thought today I would talk a little bit more about my interest in cassettes and talk about Walkman, how I came across some Walkman, where you can get a good Walkman and what to kind of look for when you're buying a Walkman. So I, like a lot of people, first experienced cassette tapes in like the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. My family's car had a cassette player until we eventually upgraded to a CD player because most of the population had a CD player by then. It was really like a mainstay of the car to have a cassette tape playing. My brother used to make mixtapes to play on long car trips and that was always fun. Unlike vinyl, which I got into fairly like early on in life and started collecting a lot, I didn't really start collecting cassette tapes until only fairly recently, like a few years ago, so I don't have as impressive a cassette tape collection as my vinyl collection, but I think I still have some decent tapes in there. I'm not going to show all of them today because I don't know where all of them are, but I am going to show you all of the random Walkman that I have. To start off, I'm going to show you my main Walkman that I use. So this is the Sony Walkman WM-FX21. So this is the main one that I use. This is the one that is my go-to. I use it all the time. I don't really use the other ones too much. They're just kind of there. This is just like my go-to one. I've got, what have I got in here? I've got a Madonna, her first album, and it looks like this is an original cassette as well, so that's pretty cool. And then obviously it takes the AA battery. So the batteries that I use are these Energizer ones that are rechargeable. So I use those to save a little bit of money on batteries. This Walkman still has a fully functional radio. The radio works really well, both FM and AM. Unfortunately, where I live is limited in terms of radio stations because I don't live in a major city, but you can still hear all like the regional radio stations on here. I brought it into my work today and my boss thought it was really funny that I had one of these because he is older than me, so he was like alive to like experience the earlier Walkman. So he thought it was really funny when he saw this and realized that it was mine. There was a while when I thought it was broken and so I panicked and ordered another one, and then I realized it wasn't actually broken, it was just running low on batteries. So I do have the exact same Walkman. But this is a backup, an emergency one, just in case this one ever decides to die on me. This one is also fully functional, it works fine. It's got all the features. This one is also an FX21 as well. I now have this box. That box has some Walkman in it. All of the Walkman are not working. They are varying degrees of not working. And then I've got another tape player, which is not a Walkman, but I will explain what it is in just a moment. This is a Panasonic. I don't know if this can technically be called a Walkman because I believe Walkman is Sony's thing. So I don't think you can really call a Panasonic tape player a Walkman. So it just says FM, AM, stereo, radio, cassette player. This one just needs a belt and that's pretty much it. Once it's got its belt, it'll be fine. It'll be fully functional. All right, this one, most of them have the backs off them, so just bear with me. This one, I don't think I'm gonna be able to fix it because of where the motherboard and stuff is. It just doesn't look like that's gonna be able to be moved because there is a screw there. I mean, if I can get it to work, that would be great, but I don't like my chances. It also makes some concerning noises. I don't know how old this one is, so this is the WM-FX173. It's got a mega bass function. It's got the radio. I don't know if the radio works. You can adjust the lows and the highs, unlike this one. So this one is pretty much like flat EQ. This one you can obviously shift stuff around, so that's good to know. We then have this one. So this one's missing a belt. Everything else looks fine in here from what I can see. There's no major issues. It's just missing a belt. So this one is the FX211. These next two are the ones that I'm really excited about. So they're the exact same model. This one, I don't actually know what model this one is. It just says Walkman. I don't know how old this one is. It's looking a little busted, but I think with a good cleanup it should be okay. So I've taken the back off so I can have a look inside, and yeah, this one just needs a belt. All of the buttons are working. Like you can, so that mechanism is fine. Sometimes they kind of move around a little bit, which is a little concerning. And then the last one, this one is the exact same model, but it's in red. This one came in a box, and I don't know where the box is. I think the box might be somewhere in my parents' house, because I was living there at the time when I got this. And yeah, it just needs a belt. And I think once it has a belt, it will be perfectly fine. Just like with the other one, all the buttons work. I'm sure this was like a brand new Walkman. So I think when I eventually get a belt for this and I eventually fix it, this one may end up being my main Walkman because it's in such good condition and it just looks so nice and striking. Like, this is very eye-catching to me. So those are all the Walkman, and of course the random Panasonic cassette player and radio. But we are not done with cassette players because we have something that I will probably review in the very near future. We have the Future Man Bluetooth cassette player. This is actually a piece of music merch. So Daniel Johns, who was the lead singer of Silverchair and is now a solo artist and has made a bunch of music as part of the promotion for his second solo album, Future Never, he made a bunch of like random merch. One of the merch was the Future Man, which is a cassette player. So as you can see, this is the Future Man. It also has these buttons on the back, and I can't see the buttons too well because they're clear and it's like hard to see, but there's like Bluetooth. You can turn the volume up. There's an, I think this is an FM radio. The buttons are really cool on this one. This one is a, like, it's self-turning, I think. Like, I don't know what the, like, you don't have to flip it over. If you want to change sides, you can just like play it as it is. It also came with this USB cable. So if you wanted to play it in the car, you could play it in the car. The earphones that came with this are very uncomfortable, so I don't think I would ever use these. To be honest, I don't think I would actually consider using this as like my main cassette player, just because of a number of reasons that if I ever do a review of this I would get into. But I think this is really cool to have as like a piece of music merch, and I don't think there's ever going to be another one ever made again. So I think it's pretty cool to have this in the collection. So in terms of how to get a Walkman and where to get a Walkman, eBay is going to be most people's first port of call. eBay or places like Gumtree or Craigslist if you're in America, or any of those other sort of like local buy and sell places, Facebook Marketplace as well. Just be mindful that there's going to be a lot of people that are aware that retro tech, or however you want to call it, is quite popular, and they're probably going to take advantage of that and charge you some money. So it's just all about kind of knowing what you're willing to pay, what kind of repairs you think you might be able to make, because the good thing about a Walkman is that they're generally fairly easy to repair within reason. So like replacing a belt in one of these, for example, is very easy. Like, I've been able to do it. A lot of people have been able to do it. I would consider 30 to 50 bucks a reasonable price to pay for a Walkman. Some people might be willing to spend more. Some people might not be willing to spend that amount. Some people might not even be willing to pay for a Walkman at all. It's really kind of up to like what you want and what your budget is. You could also potentially get like an untested one and just kind of gamble with that. So there's a lot of people that are selling untested Walkman on eBay. You can also potentially get like a few of them in a bundle, and if you get a few of them in a bundle and they all have kind of the same or like corresponding parts to what you need, you might be able to make a Franken Walkman or something of that description. And if you're not willing to get like a second-hand Walkman, or you don't trust eBay, or you want something that's probably going to last you a decent amount of time and that probably isn't broken, there are also some companies that are now making cassette tapes. So there's like We Are Rewind, there's Daniel Johns' band merch, although I don't think there are any of these left. I think after they sold out, he's not going to be making any more. There's a whole bunch of different companies that make cassette tapes, and those, I don't really know too much about them. They look pretty nice. The We Are Rewind cassette tapes come in a lot of different colors. So if you're someone that really values that aesthetic, you might like to, say pair your Cos Porta Pro with a lovely We Are Rewind or similar looking cassette player, and I guess have that really cool old school aesthetic. But I feel like if you really want the old school feel, you're gonna want the real deal. Obviously, if you're gonna have a Walkman, you need tapes. Unless you're just gonna use the radio function, you need tapes. There's a lot of different places you can get tapes from. Like I said earlier, eBay. Etsy is also another good place to get tapes. You might be able to get tapes at like an op shop like Vinnie's or Salvo's or one of those type places, or Lifeline. You might be able to find tapes at a garage sale. There's a lot of different places where you can get them. Most tapes are going to be fairly cheap. Some people on eBay and Etsy do deals where they'll sell like 20 tapes for $100, which might seem like a lot of money, but you're getting a lot of tapes for that. That would work out to be like $5 per tape, which is, I think, a pretty decent amount. So try and get bundles if you can. Try and see if people can combine, or give you a deal for a few, if you get more than one. Another cool thing about tapes is that a lot of artists are releasing music on tapes now. So how I first got into tapes is there's a local band in Sydney called Sports Bra that was kind of like making music on cassettes. They were with like a cassette record label and stuff. And there's a lot of like underground punk bands similar to that are doing that as well. So a lot of, not necessarily underground punk bands, but a lot of like mainstream singers and bands are releasing music on tapes now, which is really cool. I love vinyl, but tapes are also really fun. You can't really take your vinyl everywhere with you. So it's handy to have, this in my pocket and to be able to play whatever tapes I like. I think that's pretty cool. Alright, so I hope this video helped you if you are interested in getting into cassette tapes and you want to get a Walkman. I might also make a more in-depth video about my cassette deck, because that's a whole different piece of technology, and I will also hopefully have a record collection video up very, very soon. I got one additional new record fairly recently, which I'm really excited about because it's one of my friend's favorite albums, and I really like it as well, but it's been a while since I've listened to it, so I am hoping to get more into that particular album, so when I eventually make the video, I will show you what the album is. So anyway, I hope you guys had a great day. Stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you next time.